got that installed. Now we like to use anti-seize anytime you're dealing with aluminum or stainless products. Always anti-seize. All right, so you got that right there. This is the lower bracket for the alternator. And we're going to get our, there we go, and a ratchet, and drive them home. Yeah, you just torque until you get to, you hear that.
That's how you know.
That's how you know you're torqued. All right, so that's in. Let's go ahead and grab our alternator. Our refurbished alternator, along with our pre-assembled bolt here. I think this is 2.5 inches. So we're going to take this, make sure my hands are clean because I don't want it. That anti-seize can get all over the place. So that guy goes in like so. Just let that hang. Get our washer. We got our stainless nylock. It's a 3/8/16. And then we just get this baby started here. And we'll snug that down, but we'll tighten it in a minute. Let's see if I can get this in here. And I can. Once you hit the nylock, you're going to probably need the other bolts. And you want to make sure the thread comes out the nylock. In our case, it's right there. But, all right. Let's get this guy snug. And, yeah, she's there. Just back that off just a bit. Need to go a little more still. Okay, so we bring this up. And then when we refurbished the alternator, we made sure the brushers were clean. We got a bunch of basically paper towel material to shove so we in the opening so we didn't get paint in there. All right, so this is our course, and I did it again. I touched it. Where's that? All right. There we go. So this is a coarse thread, a 5/16 This is going to go up to the top. And for right now, we don't need to really tighten this down. But I do want to get it in there. And we had to open this up because that bracket goes right there. So we're going to come in here. And this is aluminum on the body, so don't overdo it. And again, use anti-seize. So yeah, that will go like that. Come in here. That needs the bigger size. Okay, pull up on that to make sure I don't cross thread. Okay, there we go. Now this is basically a stock application, so chances are I can look up for a 68 inline 6 232 and buy the original V-belt. And don't go cheap. Don't. Cheap is cheap. So you're going to want to use a quality like a Gates belt. Okay, so here we've got, put a little bit of anti-seize or some assembly lube. You're going to wipe this as well. And then and this is brand new, but before we put this in, okay, make sure that's nice and flush. Okay, there's our keyway. And then the outside, we're going to want, we don't want this to go against the seal dry, so go ahead and assembly lube that. Line up our keyway, our Woodruff key as it's called, and that's straight up 6 o'clock. Don't hammer this on. Okay. And why is it? It's like that Woodruff key. That's the one that came with this car, but you know what? This thing's so old, chances are whoever was in here before put in the wrong damn key. So make sure that lines up and it's level, because if not, what's going to happen is you're going to press against the woodruff key and it's going to bind it to the back. You can take a little, like a dead blow, and just tap it a bit, but just leave it at that. Now we're going to open this guy up here. This is by ARP, and this is not going to be by application. This is by the thread. And again, it's ARP, it'll look nice. And you can use the ARP lube, or you can use the same assembly lube that we're doing. So we're going to assembly lube that. We're going to assembly lube the back just a dab and on the thread. And if we can, we might be able to bite a little, and you got to watch that. Okay, now I've only got a few threads in. If that wants to move in easily, do not start to torque on that, otherwise you will strip the threads. So we're going to check that out right now. And we're going to crank this by hand, and there is a tool for this. All right. So, and then eventually you're probably going to have to just make sure it's turning. Yeah, it's going. We're good. Now I've gotten to the point where I've got enough threads in, and I might need to hold the back, because if it starts to turn the motor. Now once I bottom out, this is, I believe it's half. So what's amazing, a 350 Chev or a, God, I don't remember if the Fords were the same, but the 350 Chev, even your stroker motor, it's all 350s or 327s. Now we had a earlier video about that. And for the record, I personally don't want to touch a 327. And I'll tell you why. It's a lot like the 289 Fords. A lot of people out there are purists, if you want to call them for say. They want the original motor. They don't repop those two engines. They got plenty of 302s. They got plenty of 350s. And anything prior to 68. I think, was it 68 November? That was for the 69 edition. That was the last edition of the 327. And yes, some people have stroked those. But if it's got the small journal, it's a 2-bolt main. You have to understand, when people are putting stroker motors together, 383s, they're going to be pushing close, maybe 450 on up past 500 or better. You're talking some serious horsepower. And if you're going to do that, don't be a cheapskate. Go ahead and buy a billet crank. Yes, a billet crank. Call SCAT. Look them up. Buy the whole rotating mass. So that way you got the right part for the right application. You don't have to worry about blowing shit up or pinging the dampener. That's where you cross drill a side of the keyway. You cross drill and put a pin in there. But the thing is after you cut and take away material off a reduced crank, like a 1010, 1020, whatever, 10, 20, 30, 30, 30, that's the main, the relationship of the main and the rods. You start to diminish the strength at that point. And if anything else, up to a certain degree, goes past from which it was originally designed, and you start pushing the envelope, things are going to stretch and tweak and bend, and then all of a sudden your snout breaks off, or all of a sudden, boom, and you've got a piston that shot up through your hood. That kind of stuff happens. So again, consider the application, talk to a professional, and make sure you have the right parts. Anyways, getting back to this, since this is a 1/2 inch, a lot like Fords, their cylinder heads are about 100, 105, I believe, for a 1/2 inch. And you got to look right here, underneath here, just so you know, on ARP, we've got plenty of this stuff in stock. I even bought a bottle. But if you look underneath here, oh, look at that, the destruction sheet. And what does it tell you? Aha! And I was going to say 110 foot-pounds. However, this motor, with that stock bolt, was probably something more like maybe 90 to 100. But this is ARP, so we know the crank will handle it. We're going to go ahead and bottom this out. So I'm holding it, and it's still going in. Everything's going well. And once I bottom out, this is a brand new dampener, by the way. Don't use an old 40, 50, 60-year-old dampener, especially the rubber around here. Okay, what's going to happen is that's going to, especially if you're pushing more horsepower. We're not putting a turbocharger on here or anything, but this is just going to fly off. Why? Because it's 40 to 50, 60 years old, and the rubber has been deteriorating over that time. So you're going to know when you bottom out, and when we do, just make sure we don't forget. We're going to go ahead and torque this to 110 pounds, and then your dampener, aka your harmonic balancer, is installed. And she's going in pretty smooth. That's another thing. If this thing just slips on and it has no resistance, you got an issue, or something on the snout has been sized down. Get rid of the crank, especially if you're talking about a decent, say, street buildup with 4 1/4, 450 on up horsepower, and you just don't want to be using that used stock stuff. And again, you're going to start pushing over 500. Start off with a billet crank and make sure it's standard. It's just my suggestion. And getting back to the 350 Chevys, they're a dime a dozen, like the 302s. So for the people, we've got one, and it's rare. We know it. They don't repop 327s, but we're saving it for somebody that wants an original 327. And it's not going to be numbers matching, but it's going to be month and year matching. So November 68, and let's say it came out of our 68 Nova. That's that orange one. That is, I think that's the particular one we've got. I don't know, we got so many of them here. But that's period correct. Here's the problem. You start stroking that engine's gone. It's no longer a 327. But you've got a whole ton of 350s out there at your disposal. So go ahead and burn that one. Okay, I am almost there. This went right in. Okay, I'm bottomed out. Now, we're going to have to take a couple of bolts back there and screw them in. And we're going to have to get like a breaker bar and not sticking up against the flange of the crank. You don't want those bolts tweaking or bending. You don't want to damage that back there or tweak the threads. Hold that in place, torque that down to 110 pounds, and you're good to move on. Now, it's because it's over here behind me. We're going to take the water pump. This is original. It's all nice and restored. We're going to line that up. Boom. And at this point, we can go ahead and put on the fan and still access the dampener bolt so we can torque that later. Okay. So we're going to continue our build. These are already anti-seized. Line that up. Also have our continuing stainless 12-point ARP theme going on here. Look at that. That's looking nice. It's like candy. I hear the guys closing up back there. All right. I think what we'll do is we'll go ahead and tighten this down, and we're going to call it a night. And I guess we'll see you first thing in the morning. At least for us, you'll just see a frame change. Won't even notice it's 2 different days. Unless my hair's styled differently, right? And he was clean shaven on the one and then sloppy on the next. Yep, that's the guy. Okay, now these are going to be about 285 inch pounds. No, just tighten them, okay? And this is a brand new water pump. And that's another thing. Anytime you're doing a rebuild or, you know, you're freshening something up, start out with new components like that. Because you go through all that trouble, you put it together, and all of a sudden, boom, you know, it starts leaking at the seal. The bearing gives out. And then you're right back to where you started. So be thorough. Now, I don't even know if that alternator works, but it looked fairly new. It just been sitting around outside or something, and the weather took its toll. It started looking like dookie. Okay, so the next step, we're going to go ahead and we'll explain. Let me explain what happened here. So, here's our gasket. We are going to, goes on one way, and we're going to seal this with a product that we'll show you on our following day. But that's going to go down like that. Okay, it's actually backwards. So, yeah, here we go. And it needs to, what happened there? Okay, here we go. Is that it? Nope, it's the one single bolt here. Boom, got it. Okay, there we go. All right, so here's the original valve cover. All right, and over here we've got a relief. No relief over there, but that does fit. So this is the way this goes on, okay? And the thing is that somebody drilled a little hole back there, and I don't recognize that as being factory. And then as this air cleaner sits up over here, we actually painted and refurbished this, but if you look real closely, you can see how damaged that was from water damage. We even replaced the, got some material to replace the seal. So here's this. So far I haven't been able to find this. This thing is 68, so it's 50 plus years old. It went into here, but what we did is I found a plug for the floor, and it's marked front. Here it is. So this guy would go in there, okay? And when you're dealing with an old material like this stuff gets hard and brittle. It's easily, you can easily tear and break it. And then that returns and goes up here. Okay, see this up here? So that's that. And it's got this quarter twist oil cap, which is right here. We bought a new one, but then we thought, you know, this thing needs something. So this engine, they always precede, and later years, I think 70, we talked about the profile difference on the oil pan. 2 bolt locations were different, and those were used in the AMC Jeeps. So here's our chrome cover. This is a pop-in. We're gonna run our PCV valve over here, our breather back here, so we solve that. We've eliminated capped off on the air cleaner. We're gonna keep that original, and we've eliminated this piece. And the other thing we had to do was go out on the bench with a socket, and we had to squeeze this in order to clear, and it just clears. So when we bolt this down, ARP bolts, she's going to bolt down center line with the thread and go around the head of the bolt. And do not try to cut or modify the bolts. Just leave it alone. So that'll come back up tomorrow. We're gonna go home, and I'll see you soon. Good morning. Okay, we're gonna finish this off. Before we get to reinstalling the intake and the exhaust, the new exhaust manifold, wanted to make sure that all our holes were chased and cleaned out. So that was actually a tap bit. You just got to be careful. So again, we explained, I believe already, where we had to press these in around the head bolts. This is an aftermarket valve cover, and it's not made identically to the 68 that we showed you. Again, concerned about that little hole there that had nothing to do with anything as far as we know. And we have our breathers, PCV, And our fuel inlet, fuel inlet. We have our oil cap. Actually, it was a twist cap. But anyways, and this profile is supposed to be the same for the later year AMC inline 6 that was found in Jeeps. In fact, I've got one inside my 79 Jeep CJ5, which is about 11 years predecessor to this. I don't even remember what that was. This is a 232, and this one here, we didn't build the engine. The customer had it built from somebody years ago. So obviously we can't guarantee what's internally. When we get it installed, we're going to do a compression check and see where we're at there. And then preset the timing, fire her up. And we just want to make sure, as far as valves and adjustment, compression, we want to make sure right across the board we're pretty consistent. So without further ado, let's finish this thing up. We're going to go ahead and install the intake and exhaust manifold, install the valve cover, and pop the distributor in. And then we're going to have to fall back later, because we're going to have to, that's the thing with these inline 6s. They're pretty interesting because there's really nowhere like a V8 to lock onto. And you want to make sure that this thing is fully adjustable so you can maneuver as you're installing. But once we have this off the engine stand, we notice that, and I think the customer had mentioned that whomever this company was, his block was no good. So this is probably 60 to maybe as high as 80 over. We don't know. We're not going to, of course, we're not going to go open this up. But we have to put in a couple Healy coils on the lower outer for the bow housing mounts, because those things are strict. That's why I've got that nut there holding that on. And goodness gracious, our force is going inward instead of pulling out, but still. Now we're good up here, and you only have the 4. So actually there's another one up here, but without looking at the bell housing, I'm not sure if that one's used. Kind of like on the 350 Chevs, you know, that center top one generally isn't used. All right, well, let's get to it. So we've got our billet breather here. We've got our oil cap. This is a pop-in, and just put a little oil around the perimeter of the seal, because this kind of goes in tight. This is a fresh one, and they can dry out over time. Anything, even this stuff. These grommets are new, and we've got our billet matching PCV valve. So we're going to set this over yonder. Okay. Now, we're going to use an ATV seal on the top side and against the valve cover. But on the bottom side, I'm going to use this weather strip. I've got a yellow one here that I bought. And we're going to set this first. And of course, I don't have, there she is. I don't have my my gloves. So I'm going to get this stuff all over my fingers. And then after we get through applying this, make sure we've got it positioned where we need. We'll set that aside and wipe that excess off. All right, let's do this. Let's do this. All right. Oh, damn, it's just dripping out, huh? Somebody with nasal problems. All right, we'll let you do your thing. Let that drop out. Just give just a little squeeze. Go around. Go around the hole. Over here we can only go back so far. So we'll fall back and take our finger and feed that in. And just be consistent. Just take your time at your own pace. Just make sure it's done right. Go around that hole again. Okay, not too thin, not too thick. Kind of tacky when you have RTV or any glue just oozing out all over the place. Okay, and this stuff can set up and gas off pretty fast. So if you're slow at this, it's not going to be forgiving. Just don't be that slow. Nice little bead. around the hole. Unfortunately, unlike the small block Fords and small block Chevys, everybody and their grandmother pops stuff for the, you know, parts for those engines. So you can find different, I mean, more high quality end parts. And whereas this motor, you're limited. You get cork. And before we torque this down, we're going to make sure all these bolts are lined up. Okay, so I'm going to close this end off over here. Reach in there. Oh, got it. Okay, so that's done. You see how that kind of drips out? Just kind of work with it and pull it. But we still don't have anything on the back side. Okay, so we're gonna come in here with my pinky and get that in there. Jeez. Like a spider web. Okay, that's enough. Yeah, I got that one. It's right over here. Just kind of tamp it, fill it up. Okay, let's go ahead and clean this off. You have some mineral spirits or something, or lacquer thinner, that'll actually peel this off, just like veneer. Or, I mean, veneer adhesive, veneering adhesive. All right, let's throw this away. All right, let's get our gasket. All right, make sure we got it right. You don't want to get this on both sides if you're going to use the RTV on the flip side. Okay. And unlike our oil pan gasket, this goes right on. So make sure you go directly on top of the glue. Okay. And then, yeah, don't just slide it. Make sure you're on top of it. And then you can just take your finger and just kind of push down a bit and just kind of wiggle that just to work the glue around the bottom surface of the gasket. So that is all looking good. Let's get rid of those excess spider webs. They're looking tacky there. And go directly down on the glue and then press and then pull where you need to center it. Wow. That's it. All right, now let's get our RTV back in here. We're gonna go, what color do I use? You want to be inclusive and go like pink or something? All right, here we go. Optimum Flex. I know I have an open one somewhere, and unfortunately it escapes me at the moment. It's probably on the other end of the shop, but I am not going to take a stroll. Okay. Oh look, there's an open bottle of dialithic grease. We'll just use that. There's nothing back over there. Okay, so this is how you end up with a handful of the same open product. All right, so that's done. And we're not going to use the nozzle. We're going to come over here. Okay. Flip that over. And we are going to make sure that that is all nice and clean. No grease. We already cleaned that before. I just want to make sure there's no dust or debris or anything like that on the bottom side, on the surface side. Okay, so we come over here and you can see as I'm just tamping it down. Oh, look at it, I'm just stacking those dimes. I'm in a race. Not too thin, not too thick. tamping it like that, and there's an air pocket in here, expect it, is almost like, it's just like stacking dimes, huh?
Mm-hmm.
It's almost like taking your finger and just smushing it along the way, but without getting it all over your finger. So that's the beauty. Kind of reminds me of a guy that taught me to broom years ago. I'm like, really? You're going to teach me how to broom? And he had the broomstick in his hands. And here I am, you know, and I'm just huffing and puffing later. And he's sitting here just along the way. And what was happening is he had these multiple quick little short strokes that were pushing and capturing everything. And I'm watching him, I'm like, it's kind of like Velcro. Why in the hell didn't I think of that? All right. Now, hopefully in this particular video we won't be blasted like the stroker one, as I was explaining. And again, you know, 327s are like 289 Fords, so just these days they're just not a dime a dozen. Leave them alone and let them go to a good home. That is a vehicle that needs a 327, that came with a 327 back in the day, and people want to keep their vehicles somewhat like a purist, period correct. There's plenty of 350s. And besides, I don't care what anybody says. My lead tech used to be, Lucifer was 2,800 horsepower. And he used to work for a friend, Johnny, out there in Wisconsin, Rocket Racing. Hello, Johnny, if you're watching. I hope I'm making you proud. Anyways, he used to machine the engines, set them up. He dynoed, and you know, back in the day, he started doing this stuff in his professional career, whereas I went into construction. I think I mentioned before, my old man was a top mechanic for Chevrolet. So, and then in my upbringing, you got Carroll Shelby, Ivan Man Stewart, Evel Knievel, 10 pounds of you-know-what in a 5-pound bag, just pushing the envelope. And that's where we grew up. I mean, you just see all our asses hanging out of an engine bay. This is what we did. But, you know, when you've been there, done that, and as Bill stated, my lead tech just blew shit up left and right. So, and his experience, he highly suggested the, and I agree with him, 4-bolt mains and a very late model 327 or a 350, because they're a dime a dozen. So who gives a damn you waste one of those and stroke it out? And what I mean by waste is because once you stroke out a 327 and change it over, it's no longer a 327, and people want the originality. And of course, over the years, it's undeniable. You know, you keep the same block. It's not, you know, it's a numbers matching block to that given original CID. But honestly, when you got to bore it over and put in a new set of pistons, it's no longer a 289 or a 327. We get that. So, without further ado, let's get back to this guy and let's install him. Install the valve cover. So I'm clean because I got all this nice chrome. All right. All right, so let's get this guy on here. All right. And then, yeah, that's going nice. Now, we have, I think it's on this table. It better be on this table. Come on. Yeah, there she is. There they are. There's 7 of them. Our nice ARP stainless bolts. And then our Teflon So we're going to grease these up. Hey, can you do me a favor and hold the camera, film, and grease these up for me? That's Junior Drew behind the camera this morning, so. All right, so just a little bit. I'll glob it on. I like doing this because it kind of acts as like a lock, and at the same time it seals around the perimeter. It's just a good practice. It's like when you're doing heads on the intake manifold, on your small blocks especially. Certain ones go into the water jacket, right? I just do them all. It's just a habit because of that one point that it helps to hold them in place. Not that it's necessary, but it is necessary around the water jacket. Okay, let's see if I've got a speed wrench here. Come on, Mr. Speed Wrench. Yes and no. But, instead of that, get over here. Yes, come to daddy. Oh, hell yeah. Now this thing, I'm not going to be able to spin that. Ever seen that one there? Okay, just slightly snug. We're going to leave that there. We're going to get the rest of our bolts and seal them up as well. Now you can just stick it in your mouth and hold it, you know, while you get the next one and the next one and the next one. Tastes good, less filling. Tastes just like a dessert topping. Was that old SNL skit? I know I'm going to date myself, but some of you probably recall Shimmer. It's a dessert topping. No, it's a floor shine. You're both right. It's a dessert topping and a floor shine, all in one. So, that's when things were funny back in the day. Now everything's politically correct. You can't offend anybody. That's why all the comedians are talking about that these days. And it's true. I mean, how if you can't have humor in your life, don't have much of a life at all. I can hear Bill right now. Do us all a favor, yourself, shoot yourself. Something. Words of wisdom from Bill. That man's been with me for, my God, 6.5 years. Right, these days it's hard to find good people. Actually, in this kid, he's only 18. And he does better than 30, 40, 50-year-olds. The beauty is I can teach him something, and he'll listen and apply it, and he'll succeed. Maybe not always as best as he can possibly achieve, but hey, that's the part of the learning process in life. And, you know, I hope you're sitting back there, your home viewer, and having fun and learning something, and probably wish you were here joining the fun. We'd love to have more experienced people, but they're just not out there. And I apologize and appreciate your patience for being off on the video thing. We just found a guy, and we're working with him so we can get more videos out there. While you're at it, do me a favor, subscribe and smash that like button. It really helps us out to grow our channel. YouTube algorithm, they make you work your butt off for the first 1,000. And then we can get some somewhat free advertisement. But until then, please like and subscribe, comment, share, all that good stuff. And we want to hear from you. Tell us what you'd like to see. I know you probably see in the background all these other projects, and trust me, I want to get to every one of them, but we're just a few handful of people. There's only so much time in a day. Hell, I don't even know if I'm ever going to achieve all the things I want to get done in life. soon as I'm done filming, then I got to be Mr. Owner again, get my butt back in the office and look up parts for customers and all that good stuff. Just part of the job. Okay, so this one here, don't want to bind it. You got to get that thing lined up. Yeah, okay. So we're going to have to assist this guy here. Pull that, that's always the last one, huh? Okay, let's get this guy out here. That's actually good there. Oh, I know why. Because of this. Alright, get that in there. I actually have two of them here. I forgot about this one. Let's see if we can... So we're going to push down on that, try to line it up, and keep that plumb. And there you go, we got it started. Okay? And we got one more here. We get that one started, we can bring it home. Oops. Come on. Hey, hey, hey. There you go. We got it. Alright, now I'm going to snug all these down. I'm only going to crush this so much. I'm going to do it by hand. You don't need to get it bust out Mr. Torque wrench and torque them down to 75 foot-pounds or anything like that. It's a gasket. And on top of that, it's a quart gasket. So you can crush them easily. Let's get this guy here. Yeah. And I'll show you what I do. So I'm going to grab here at the top, put my thumb there, and I'm just going to snug that down. If you reach out here, you gain more leverage, and you don't want that. And don't forget, this is 1/4 inch. So, and these things are spaced pretty far apart. And unlike technology today, because everybody has been there, done that, and they learned from their mistakes, they have revised stuff. Even the aftermarket world. If this, it probably came back somewhere back in time. See, if this thing starts to ooze out your gasket, that's it. You've got enough pressure on there. That's enough. I mean, don't do it. There we go. And if you crush it too much, you've damaged it. Last one. Yeah, technology, you know, we're aluminum because it's more rigid and they got an O-ring. I mean, they seal up very well all the way around. You don't need to sit here going through all this masting of glue or, you know, adhesive. All right, so that's done. Look at that. That thing is looking beautiful. Just gorgeous. All right, now we get to have fun with this. But before we move, on this one, we're using, I think this is by JBL. God, Bill's stuff is like circa 1980. Look at this. But I can't find mine. Mine developed legs and walked off. So we're using we always anti-seize, copper, aluminum, but stainless or aluminum, but we're anti-seizing in copper, not necessarily nickel, because it's going into a heat source, meaning the exhaust manifold. So it just holds up better. Now, they didn't do this back in the day. We do, because when it comes time to repair or undo something, this stuff doesn't get stuck in there. We have to heat it up and, you know, drill it out. So that's the beauty of this stuff. Okay, just a little bit. We got that all ready to go. Right. Okay, so now you'll see here, these are going to require a lip, and so we are going to pop that in up here. And then to install these, what you can do is, but I've chased these, this one's still a little sticky. This one was hard to get to, but that went in easy. Take a couple of bolts, lock them together, turn them against each other, and then you can go ahead and install that. And I thought I had a nut here, and I don't. All right, so take the other one. There are going to be some more of these. And I've got some more down here. There's also some bolts. See how that one went in all the way? Real easy. I want this one to do the same thing. So I think what I'm going to end up doing is doing this. This is what's known as a C-nut. And it's crimped in 3 ways. And it's locking. So we're going to put that on there. And hopefully it turns the stud as we want and not lock onto it. Look at that. Right there. Just needed that little extra. But that's bottomed out. See? Gotta watch it. Darn. There we go. Got it. Just like that. I'm going to put a little dab on the tip of the anti-seize. And then we've got these are brand new. We painted them. So fresh metal, they're going to go on there. That's a thick washer, and that's what holds these 2 pieces together, or bonds them to the engine. Now the 2 center ones, when we get started, it's going to come up to here, and you want to put them on loose, because as you do that, the intake manifold is going to have to clip onto here. And I just recalled, so we can set the bottom. Can't really do this because I was going to weld this. Come over here. This here broke off. They don't make them. And look at over here from manufacturing. See how it curves down? It's not flush. When you lock that down, okay, you see what's happening here? So that's up there. See how that dips? See that gap right there? Right there? There's nothing. Nothing. But, and that probably adds to, if you think about it physically, when you torque this down, okay, you got nothing bit over here. But this leg here, for some reason, I guess as it got loose and it kept waddling, there's not much material and it broke off. And it would hold better if you had full circumference of the surface.
Right.
But we're going to add that on there, weld that, and then we'll put this together. So right now, we're going to get this guy in. And, oh, I forgot. It's probably best to use a gasket, you think? Which is... Where did we put those gaskets, Drew?
They actually fell down over here.
Right, I forgot. I stuck them where I could get to them. Okay.
That's right. We took them out of the box.
Sit it right there. That goes like that. Get that off there. You got that right there. Okay, and try not to bend or cramp this. Pull that in there. Double check. Yeah, everything looks good. That's it. That's a wiener there. All right, so let's see. That guy will go like that. Okay, but again, you see that? I'm just going to put this in loosely because this has to come out so I can get the intake manifold to slip over those pins, those lineup pins. So for now, I'm going to get my 2 bolts. And until you put heat in this motor, you don't have to worry about the gaskets, you know, if you have to separate them. But this thing will be all together before we even get to that point. And again, we're just going to put this in loosely, or snug for now, and then we'll crank on it later, the final. But we're going to go ahead and fit all our studs. Okay, that's in there. There we go. Awesome. So we got 2 more down here, 2 more here, and up here. So we've got some extra studs because the kit only came with 2, which is ridiculous. See, here's the other bag right here. Up, and I ended up getting, that's right, I had the manufacturer send me a couple of them. Okay, so let's get all this stuff over here. So I had to butter these up. Sounds like Bill's got the 57, the Bel Air, fired up. That's really a neat car. That's convertible 2-door. It's got the right amount of doors. Alright, so that's in there. And me personally, I look for the aesthetics. Like this end looks better, more presentable. and easier for me to start the nut. Well, that's kind of redundant, because if the nut don't start, what makes you think you're going to get this to start inside the block? But it's the little things I just become a habit to. Alright, so again, we've got these two. I got two more, and I need another set of two. And I'm going to hide those at the bottom probably, so they all look consistent. But darn if they didn't give us another set, because it requires 4 sets. Alright. Get out there. Alright. There we go. There we go. So go ahead and put that right there, and that one right there. Like I said, that only leaves the 2 top ones. We could just use a bolt on there too, but with the washer. So it'll be a bolt head, a number 8 hex. It'll show up right here in the open. So we're just gonna get another set of these from the manufacturer. That's what we're going to do. We'll use the hex bolts to hold them in when we set this all together, and then we'll go from there. So basically, this guy is going to be a gasket in between that sandwiches. That guy comes here, make sure all your surfaces are clean, and that gets separated. Okay, and that sits down there like that, right? Like I said, I got to go over the pins. And then we've got our PCV, our breather, okay? It's going to come like this. All right, and then she's going to come around and hook up to our valve right here. Here's the 1050 Dominator. Now, this is just a little 1 barrel. We're gonna, I'm not sure about this gasket, but we need a gasket under here and over here. And then when that's done, and I already showed you what we got going on over here, but we're going to clean this carburetor out too, flush it, because Lauren only knows how long it's been sitting. Okay, and then that goes like that. That says front. The original one had a relief. Don't really know why, because you don't need it. And there you have it. Oh, we, by the way, before we started back on, we went ahead and made sure, you'll see back here, I took a couple of the ARP bolts, and I got ARP all the way around, even for the flywheel. The dampener, you know, stuff like that. We put a couple of them in here, and we just grabbed a wrench. Didn't need much to hold, or a bar, and we torqued that front end down per ARP with assembly lube to 110 foot-pounds. So this will go back over here, and this guy we forgot to clean last night. Again, this is some good stuff because we had to open that up. Remember? Alrighty then. You know, that is pretty much a wrap. And then the last piece de resistance, we're going to put some, we'll go ahead and put some on right now. All right, and then we're just going to drop it in the hole. And then we're just going to need to loosen this. Where'd my eyeballs go? Loosen the cap. Okay. Come on in here, son. Don't be shy. Okay. So, right here, you notice we've got that screwdriver. There she goes. There we go. We're in there. Then we've got our little retainer. We lucked out, cleaned it, painted it. We got our continuing ARP stainless 12-point bolt theme. We got this on eBay. I was going to fabricate something because along the way, a lot of these parts were either destroyed or they're just lost, like this piece. So that goes in there like that, and the cap will go back on. And then like yay, and then we've got our spark plugs in, and of course I've used, I like this stuff, it just came in. This is expensive, but it's pure copper anti-seize. So you put just a tiny dab on the thread. Make sure you keep it away from the electrode. I'll show you. Just a tiny little dab. And then you can turn that in, turn it out, just kind of working on the thread. Put that in. We'll torque these down. I'm going to leave them loose for right now because I want to go ahead and take a compression check. We're going to actually take our milling. I love this little deal here. I've had this for years. What you do is you pour all your oil in it. Looks like a beer jug. And you put your oil in here. You hook up to air, and you hook this into where your oil pressure port comes out of. And then you release, you got this all pumped up right here with an airline, about, I don't know, 50, 60 pounds, and you just crack this open. You hear that? See that? Still full. And that shoots and injects the oil in. Well, what that does is it injects the oil, I made a nice little mess here, as if this engine's running. So what's great is it's going to pump up your lifters, pre-oil everything, the whole system, and all you got to do is come in here and just turn this over. That's it. And I can see now, I just noticed, come in here, look at that, right at that angle, right there. See that? I'm going to have to take this off and shim that. See how that's non-aligned? Mm-hmm. That's going to add premature belt wear and damage. So then these came in, okay? These are our plug wires, Moroso. These are 7 mil. And, oh, they're here on the table. These are a little nicer. There wasn't too many selections, so I got this. We'll find, go online and look up our timing. So that'll go like such, okay? And then this, actually, we're going to replace this on the end here so it's easier to pull off. Use a little dialithic grease. And that's basically it. We have this guy here. I'm not sure if I explained where I have to do some weld repair. So this guy actually goes in there like such. And I don't know if you noticed from the earlier frame, I got my stay. I got my matching studs here. Make sure everything is in use. Same thing with the C-nuts here. C-nuts means they're crimped 3 ways here at the tip, and they're self-locking. Okay. And then looks like that thing's going to be in the way, but you get the basic. Let's go ahead and do that. Why not? Because we are going to showcase the finish. Not going to have everything bolted up, of course, because of that repair we need to do, but at least let's show you what she's going to look like. And I've got some pins there I have to connect to, so I need to remove this. All right. And then, oh, stretch and reach for it. Okay. All right. What, oh yeah, I've got this tightened down there. Okay, let's see if we can just get that to, no, probably not. So that's going to sit in there like so. And then I'm going to have that hold. And then we're going to clean out our carburetor. That's our little 1-barrel carburetor. He's got a disc here. Okay, so this disc is going to situate roughly like this. And then it's going to connect to our PCV. And then this guy comes here. The Los Piece Resistance. And we've got everything plugged. We've got our return 90-degree vacuum line over here. And of course, we'll get the rest of our plug wires in. Watch your step back there. And so we'll go online and figure out where, you know, what the timing is going to be. Let's just go ahead and set these in place. And that's it for our build-up. Again, we didn't machine the engine, so we're hoping for the best. But you get an idea what she's going to look like. All right, and that's basically it. That is our 1968 AMC 232 inline 6 buildup. So we thank you for hanging in this far on episode 3. Episode 4 will be going back home in the car. But again, I'd like to thank you for watching. Again, I'm Jim. I'm your host, Jim Speedshoff. You're watching American Garage TV, and we thank you so much for subscribing, sharing, commenting, and hitting that like button. Really helps the channel. We will see you on our next video. Thanks for watching.